Ever feel like you're just drowning in emails, buried under documents, maybe struggling to keep up with meeting notes?
Yeah, it's a common feeling.
What if you had an incredibly smart assistant, powered by cutting-edge AI, built right into the Microsoft tools you use every single day? Today, we're taking a deep dive into a stack of research, reports, and real-world accounts about Microsoft 365 Copilot. We've pulled together case studies, technical breakdowns, feedback from people actually using this thing to understand what it is, how it works, and, well, the real impact it's having.
Right.
Our mission here is to cut through the noise, pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, and maybe even some surprising facts for you.
And it's important to say, at its heart, this is much more than just a simple chatbot. It's a sophisticated AI engine, deeply integrated into the whole Microsoft 365 ecosystem. And it's specifically designed to fundamentally change how work gets done. Really, it's about augmenting human capabilities.
Right, augmenting. So the goal for you, listening in, is to walk away understanding exactly what Copilot is built on, see how it pops up, and helps you inside your favorite apps. Explore the pretty compelling real-world results people are reporting, figure out how you can get the absolute most value out of it, and, critically, understand the important challenges and limitations you need to navigate. So, diving in, let's get to the fundamental question. What is this Copilot thing at its core? We know it's an AI assistant woven into M365 apps like Word, Excel, Outlook, Teams, and, well, quite a few more.
Exactly. And its true power comes from combining two main things. First, it uses powerful large language models, like OpenAI's GPT-4o for text, DALL-E 3 for images, plus Microsoft's own Prometheus model. But the real secret sauce, the key differentiator, is how it combines those powerful models with your organization's specific data.
Okay, hang on. So it's not just spitting out generic internet knowledge. It actually knows about my company's internal documents, my emails, my calendar.
Precisely. And the key to unlocking that is Microsoft Graph. Think of Microsoft Graph as maybe the master librarian for your organization's data.
Okay.
It securely connects Copilot to your emails, your documents in SharePoint and OneDrive, your Teams chats, your calendar, contacts, everything. But, and this is crucial, it strictly respects all existing permissions. Copilot always has to ask the librarian, can I access this file or email based on this user's permissions before it pulls anything?
Got it.
So this grounding in your reality, your organization's data context, that's what makes the assistant so relevant and personalized for you. And then complementing that, there's something called semantic indexing.
Okay.
If Graph is the librarian knowing where everything is and who can see it, semantic indexing is like building a sophisticated concept map of a library's contents. It understands meaning and relationships between data, not just keywords.
Okay.
So it knows sales reports and revenue figures and quarterly performance are related concepts, even if the exact words don't match across different documents. And this helps Copilot retrieve significantly more relevant, more accurate information for your prompts. It goes way beyond simple keyword matching.
That's fascinating. So it's not just generic AI applying generic knowledge. It's personalized AI using knowledge from my organization's data, filtered through my permissions, and understanding the concepts within that data.
Exactly.
And it's right there inside the apps I use every day. All right, we've seen what it's built on. Let's get practical. How does this actually show up when you're, trying to get work done? Let's walk through some key apps mentioned in the sources.
Okay, let's start with Word. Here, Copilot acts as a truly integrated writing partner. It can draft initial content from a simple prompt, maybe a detailed outline, or, and this is powerful by referencing up to 10 existing files, emails, or even meeting transcripts you pointed to.
10 files, wow.
Yeah, think draft an essay about the impact of renewable energy, referencing these 3 research papers, or create a business plan draft, referencing this market research doc. It's also fantastic for editing, rewriting sections to change the tone or improve clarity. Summarizing documents, you can even ask for different levels of detail, and you can chat with it about your document, ask questions, generate ideas based on what's already written. For iOS users, it can even turn voice notes into documents.
That sounds like a massive time saver for anyone who's ever stared at a blank page. All right, words are covered. What about the world of numbers? How does Copilot help us in Excel?
Analysis is absolutely key in Excel. It's a lifesaver for working with formulas.
Oh, yeah.
It can generate complex formulas based on just your natural language description, or it can explain how some bewildering existing formula actually works.
Yeah.
It's also really powerful for spotting trends in your data, highlighting outliers, and quickly creating charts and pivot tables without you needing to manually select ranges or, really understand all the nuances of those features.
Mm.
A simple example prompt could be, create a bar chart showing sales trends for product Y over the last 4 quarters from this data.
Right.
And it's getting smarter, too, with things like on-grid access for more direct interaction within the cells and the ability to connect to broader M365 data via graph for, well, richer insights.
Formulas. The bane of many in existence. So it's kind of like having a friendly data expert sitting next to you who actually likes debugging VLO.
Exactly. And making sense of the data behind the numbers, not just the numbers themselves. Okay, moving on to presentations PowerPoint. This is another area where the research highlights pretty significant time savings. It streamlines creation. It can draft presentations from just a topic, an outline, or incredibly by referencing up to 5 existing files, like a Word document or even a PDF.
From a Word doc, that's useful.
Imagine saying, create a presentation, summarizing the key points from this annual summary Word doc. It can also summarize existing presentations, add or edit slides based on new input, suggest and generate relevant images, pulling from stock photos or using DALL-E 3, help draft speaker notes, customize designs to fit your brand, even translate content.
That really does sound like it could take a task that often takes days down to hours. What about the dreaded inbox overload?
Outlook. Yes, a major pain point for so many people. And Copilot offers some significant relief here. It helps draft emails based on your prompts, letting you adjust the tone, the length, even pull info from other sources like documents or previous emails. But a huge benefit, consistently mentioned in the sources we looked at, is its ability to summarize long, tangled email threads, often with just a simple click on a summarize icon.
Okay, that alone sounds amazing.
It can even give you coaching on your email draft's tone before you hit send. And it helps manage your inbox with features like Prioritize My Inbox. Plus, it assists in scheduling meetings and prepping you for them by summarizing relevant context pulled from your calendar and related documents or emails.
Okay, let's picture this. You've been out for 2 days. Your inbox is a complete disaster. Instead of scrolling for an hour trying to catch up, you hit summarize on key threads and get the core decisions and action items.
That's the idea.
That sounds like pure magic from the research. Which of those Outlook features did people seem to value most in those early studies? Was it the summarization?
The email thread summarization was definitely highlighted as a major productivity booster,
Right.
yeah. Saves significant time for users catching up or just trying to understand complex conversations. Meeting preparation and also the summarization features in Teams were also really highly valued.
Speaking of Teams, that's the collaboration hub for so many organizations now.
Right. And in Teams, it offers real-time assistance, especially in meetings. It can provide recaps of the discussion so far, even if you join late. And crucially, it can answer questions during or after meetings by querying the transcript. Questions like, who said what about the budget? Or list all the action items that were assigned.
That's incredibly useful.
It can also quickly summarize lengthy chat threads to help you catch up on a conversation you missed. And its reach goes beyond just those main apps. It's popping up in OneNote for summarizing notes or creating to-do lists, on Whiteboard for suggesting ideas and organizing sticky notes, in Planner, though that's still in preview, for generating project plans, in Forms for drafting surveys, and even in the Viva Suite for internal comms and learning. And M365 Copilot Chat itself acts as a sort of central cross-app query point, a conversational interface that can pull and synthesize information from across all these different parts of your M365 world.
So it's really not confined to just one place. It's potentially helping you with dozens of different tasks throughout your day, kind of unifying your information across the entire suite.
Exactly. It's aiming to be everywhere you work.
This all sounds incredibly powerful on paper, but what are organizations and individuals actually seeing right now? Let's look at the real-world impact, the data coming out.
Well, the core findings from early adopters and internal deployments are pretty consistent. They're pointing to significant time savings and efficiency gains, particularly in tasks involving information synthesis and content drafting, exactly the areas where Copilot is designed to excel. We have some really compelling examples from the sources. The Public Investment Corporation, or PIC, in South Africa, a large asset manager, they reported cutting their investment decision time from 12 months down to just 6.
Wow, half the time.
Yeah, partly attributing it to faster analysis and document processing with Copilot. And get this, they saw presentations prepared in 2 hours instead of 2 days.
2 hours instead of 2 days. That is striking. Were there specific factors highlighted in the research that led to such dramatic improvements there?
Yes. The research suggests it was largely due to Copilot's ability to quickly draft content based on existing, often complex, documents and summarize vast amounts of information that previously required hours and hours of manual reading and synthesis. Another example, Intermediate Capital Group, ICG, another financial firm, reported cutting proposal response time by an impressive 80%.
80%.
They even linked Copilot analysis to seeing up to a 20% increase in gross margins.
Okay, that's bottom line impact.
And then there's Newman's Own, the food company known for its charitable donations. They adopted company-wide and shared some fascinating results. Their marketing team reported tripling the number of campaigns they could run monthly.
Tripling.
Their legal department apparently calls Copilot a junior associate for help with research and drafting. And the logistics team can now summarize daily industry publications in 30 minutes instead of taking an entire morning.
Those are really tangible business results across different departments.
Mm-hmm.
What about broader studies, maybe internal deployments?
Yeah, a case study by Worldwide Technology, WWT, on their own internal deployment found an average of 446 hours saved weekly across just 941 active Copilot users.
446 hours a week.
That works out to almost an hour per user per week, just in that mid-sized deployment. And Microsoft's own Early Access Program survey, this was with nearly 300 users, found Copilot users were on average 29% faster at common tasks like searching, writing, summarizing. The most dramatic number there was catching up on missed meetings nearly 4 times faster.
4 times faster.
And importantly, it wasn't just about speed. 68% said it improved the quality of their work. 57% felt more creative, and 70% felt more productive overall.
You mentioned the qualitative benefits, people feeling more creative, enjoying their work more. Does the research give any insight into why that might be happening?
The suggestion is that by offloading the more tedious, time-consuming parts of the job, the summarizing, the initial drafting, the searching Copilot is freeing them up to focus on the higher-level, more creative, strategic aspects of their roles. It seems to reduce the mental burden of just getting started or wading through tons of information, allowing them to spend more energy on actual thinking, analyzing, and maybe innovating.
That makes a lot of sense. Less drudgery, more brain power for the interesting stuff.
Let's also touch on the ROI, because there is a cost, right?
Yeah.
Typically $30 per user per month.
Right, the cost aspect.
But analyses, like one by a company called Lantern, show the break-even point for that $30 investment can be surprisingly low. We're talking saving just 36 to 54 minutes per month per employee, depending on their salary level.
Wait, just saving under an hour a month could pay for it?
Depending on the employee cost, yes. Think about it saving just 1 hour a month per employee. Say someone with an annual cost of $70K could yield well over 12% ROI based on this analysis. Save just 2 hours, and that ROI jumps to potentially 124%. And for higher cost employees, the ROI is even quicker and more significant.
That's the kind of number that really makes you sit up and pay attention. It frames those time savings we discussed not just as a nice-to-have convenience, but as a potentially significant financial return.
Exactly.
Okay, so the potential and the early results are clear. But as you said, to get these kinds of benefits, it's not just about flipping a switch and hoping for the best. How do you make sure you're maximizing the value?
Right, exactly. Achieving that ROI, seeing those productivity gains, it really requires a strategic approach. The research points to 2 key pillars here: mastering prompt engineering and having your data ready.
Okay, prompt engineering first. That sounds technical.
It's crucial, but maybe not as technical as it sounds. It's essentially the skill of effectively communicating with the AI to get the output you actually need. The sources emphasize 4 core principles for crafting good prompts. First, clearly state your goal. What do you want Copilot to do? Second, provide necessary context. Who's the audience? What's the purpose? Any relevant background info. Third, specify your sources, which documents, emails, or data should Copilot use, pointed exactly where to look. And fourth, define your expectations. What format do you want? How long should it be? What tone? Any specific details it must include.
So it's like being a really good director for the AI actor. You have to give it clear instructions, set the scene, point it to the script, and tell it what kind of performance you're looking for.
That's a great analogy, actually. And just like directing, the first take might not be perfect.
Yeah.
It's an iterative process. If the first result isn't quite right, you refine your prompts. Add more detail, change the requested tone, ask follow-up questions, maybe provide more specific sources. Experiment, too. Try providing positive instructions. Draft this in an engaging tone rather than negative ones. Don't make it sound boring. And always review and verify the output. Copilot is an assistant. It's not infallible. It's not a replacement for your judgment.
Okay, so mastering the asking is one big part. What about the information it's accessing? You mentioned data readiness.
That's a second absolutely crucial pillar, data optimization. Copilot is only as good as the data it accesses through Microsoft Graph and then interprets using semantic indexing. If you have messy, outdated, or poorly permissioned data in your M365 environment, that will directly lead to poor, inaccurate, or maybe even inappropriate results from Copilot. Garbage in, garbage out, essentially.
Okay, so what are the best practices there? How do you get your data house in order?
It requires effort, definitely. Regularly review and refine permissions for SharePoint sites and OneDrive folders.
Right.
Watch out especially for overly broad access groups. Everyone except external users is often a problem. Clean up outdated, irrelevant, or duplicate data that might just clutter the results or lead it down the wrong path. Use Microsoft Purview sensitivity labels to classify and protect sensitive information. Critically, ensure the extract permission is enabled on those labels so Copilot can process the content securely if the user actually has access.
Ah, okay, that's a specific setting.
Yeah. Utilize metadata effectively to add context and make data easier for Copilot and humans to find. And if you're bringing in external data via graph connectors, configure them correctly and make sure they're enables for Copilot to use. And this isn't just an IT task. It really requires a business-wide effort involving content owners and departments to get that digital house in order.
This is maybe one of the most critical, maybe even surprising insights from the research we looked at.
Yeah.
The biggest security risk often isn't the AI itself, but your existing data permissions.
That's it.
If Copilot can see it because you can see it, and your access is too broad, that's where the potential for leakage lies.
Precisely. It inherits your access. So if your access is wrong, Copilot's view of the data will reflect that.
Okay, makes sense. What about the people side of things? How do organizations help employees actually adopt this and use it effectively? It's a change.
It is a change, and it definitely requires a plan. Phased rollouts, starting with pilot programs, are generally recommended. Gather feedback, learn what works, what doesn't, define clear objectives and success metrics up front. What are you trying to achieve with Copilot? Assess both the technical environment and user readiness. Are people comfortable with the idea? Do they have the basic digital skills? And training is absolutely vital, not just generic how-to-click buttons training, but role-specific training focused on practical use cases relevant to their actual job. How can a salesperson use it? How can HR use it?
Right, tailored training.
The sources also mention the power of identifying and empowering internal AI champions, people who are enthusiastic early adopters.
Yeah.
And creating user communities, maybe in teams, for peer-to-peer learning and sharing those aha moments, that really accelerates adoption. And again, managing expectations is crucial. Keep reiterating. It's an assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Human oversight, critical thinking, verification of Copilot's outputs, these are non-negotiable. It's a tool to augment, not automate away. Critical thought.
And for the folks managing the system on the admin side, what's most important for them?
Well, the good news is that Copilot is built on the existing M365 infrastructure. So it inherits your existing security, privacy, and compliance settings.
Okay, that's good.
But admins need to ensure those settings are robust in the first place. Things like strong encryption, solid access controls using conditional access and multi-factor authentication, MFA, effectively using Microsoft Purview for data governance, setting up audit logging, retention policies, all the foundational stuff. They'll also manage the licenses, of course. And increasingly, they'll need to manage AI agents built with Copilot Studio, controlling who can build them, who can use them, monitoring usage, and potentially setting budget policies if there are pay-as-you-go costs associated with those agents.
Okay, so we've talked about the benefits, how to get them, but no technology is perfect. What are the downsides or things you need to be careful about based on the research?
Absolutely. We need to acknowledge the limitations. Copilot, like all current large language models, can sometimes be inaccurate or hallucinate.
Hallucinate.
Yeah, meaning it makes things up or provides incorrect information that sounds plausible. It's not common for simple tasks, but it can happen. It also has processing limits, like word count limits for summarization, or limits on the number of cells it can process in big Excel tables. There could be context window issues where it might sort of forget earlier parts of very long conversations or documents, and it can sometimes struggle with highly nuanced or complex formatting requests. Oh, and it requires an active internet connection to function. That's important to remember.
Okay, hallucinate is a strong word. Does the research give any sense of how often this happens or the severity? Are we talking occasional awkward phrasing or fundamentally incorrect information that could lead to genuinely bad decisions?
That's a good question. The severity and frequency really depend a lot on the complexity of the task, the quality of the data it's accessing, and frankly, the clarity of your prompt. For simple things like drafting a basic email or summarizing a short, clear document, major hallucinations are less likely. It's usually pretty reliable there. But for synthesizing complex information across multiple dense documents, or if the source data itself is ambiguous or contradictory, the risk definitely increases. And this is precisely why that human review and verification step is absolutely non-negotiable. It's a helpful assistant, a powerful one, but it doesn't replace your need to ensure the output is accurate and appropriate before you use it or share it.
Got it. Verification is key.
Addressing security and privacy risks head-on is also critical, and this ties right back to what we discussed about data readiness and permissions. The biggest risk, consistently highlighted in the research, is oversharing due to incorrect or overly broad permissions in SharePoint or OneDrive.
There it is again.
Yep. If Copilot can access data because you have access to it, and your access is too broad, it could inadvertently expose sensitive information in its responses either to your prompts or potentially if you forward that generated content to someone else. There's also a data leakage risk if generated content isn't reviewed before sharing, especially because Copilot outputs don't automatically inherit the sensitivity labels of the source files they were based on.
Oh, that's a subtle but important point.
It is. And risks can also exist from third-party plugins or if custom applications or agents built with Copilot Studio are granted overly permissive access to data via graph.
So again, it really hammers home that your existing permission structure is the fundamental security gate.
Absolutely. It highlights the critical importance of robust data governance before or at least while implementing Copilot. It's foundational. And then finally, there's the risk of over-reliance.
Ah, yes, the big one people worry about. Becoming too dependent on the AI, maybe getting lazy.
Precisely. The risk of overdependence leading to diminished critical thinking or problem-solving skills, it's a real concern. You must maintain your own expertise and judgment. Always review, always verify Copilot's outputs. It's an assistant designed to augment your work, not to replace your brain or your responsibility to ensure accuracy and appropriateness. Mitigation strategies really circle back. Robust data governance, non-negotiable human review, comprehensive user training on responsible AI use, and having clear internal policies on verification and accountability.
Okay, so we know what Copilot is, what it does across the apps, the real impact it's having, how to maximize its value, and the challenges to watch out for. But this isn't a static product, right? It's constantly evolving. What's on the horizon based on the research?
Oh, absolutely not static. Microsoft is releasing new features very frequently, often in quarterly waves. We've seen significant recent improvements just to Copilot Chat itself, like the ability to reference entire folders directly, not just files, enhanced file referencing generally, and a redesigned chat history for easier interaction. In Word, there are more detailed summary options coming. Excel now has that on-grid access we mentioned, and graph-grounded chat for richer data querying within the spreadsheet context. Outlook's Prioritize My Inbox is becoming more sophisticated. OneNote integrates with something called Copilot Notebooks for better organization. Forms can automate response collection and reference files. And Copilot Studio, the tool for building custom experiences, is getting regular enhancements for managing custom agents.
Okay, lots of iterative improvements.
But the big strategic direction, especially looking at Microsoft's plans for, say, Release Wave 1 for 2025, is a very strong focus on agents. Yeah. This means moving beyond the general Copilot assistant we've mostly talked about, towards pre-built, more specialized, role-based Copilots you might have heard of. Copilot for Service, Copilot for Finance, Copilot for Sales, and, crucially, empowering organizations to build highly customized agents for specific tasks or workflows using Copilot Studio.
So it's moving towards more specialized, maybe even more autonomous AI helpers, like having a team of mini Copilots for different jobs.
That's exactly the direction it seems to be heading. This points to a future of more sophisticated human-AI teaming, where these AI agents are designed to handle more complex, multi-step tasks that might require domain-specific expertise or access to specific external or internal data sources. Copilot Studio enhancements are making it easier to build these agents, connect them to more enterprise data, and even deploy them across new channels beyond just the standard M365 interfaces.
Yeah.
Microsoft is even exploring things like multi-agent orchestration, where different specialized agents could collaborate on a task.
Wow, okay. That sounds like a significant shift.
It is. And the implication for you and for organizations is that this isn't a one-and-done implementation. Far from it. It really requires continuous learning, staying agile, to adapt workflows as these new capabilities roll out, and developing new skills in, well, managing, directing, and collaborating with these increasingly capable AI agents. The future of work looks much more like managing a team that includes AI members doing specific jobs.
Fascinating.
So wrapping this up, what does it all mean? Microsoft 365 Copilot is clearly a powerful tool. The research shows proven benefits for productivity, creativity, and efficiency, primarily through its ability to synthesize information and assist with content drafting.
But, and it's a big but, the research makes it equally clear that unlocking its full potential, achieving that compelling ROI we talked about, it isn't just about the technology itself. It really requires a strategic, holistic approach, getting your data house in order, equipping your people with the right skills, especially prompt engineering, and having solid administrative practices in place for security, governance, and license management.
It's really about embracing a new way of working, isn't it? Where AI significantly augments human capabilities, freeing you up from some of the more mundane or time-consuming tasks.
Right.
To focus on more strategic, creative, complex work that truly leverages human judgment, insight, and maybe even empathy.
And as we look ahead, the journey isn't over. It's clearly evolving fast, moving towards this future where AI agents become even more integrated, specialized, and capable of handling complex tasks alongside us.
Which raises a really important question to leave people with, I think. As these AI assistants and agents take on more routine and complex tasks, how does your role evolve? What skills become most valuable in a truly collaborative human-AI workplace? That's definitely something to mull over.
Indeed it is. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.